Welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something pretty cool, an ancient map for the soul. It's basically a guide for personal and spiritual growth that's been used for centuries to help people navigate their own inner transformation. So, let's get into it. You know that feeling, right? Where you feel like you're moving through life, you're facing all these challenges and changes, but you don't really have a clear sense of direction. It's kind of like you're a traveler in a totally new land with no GPS. But what if I told you that maps for this exact journey have been around for thousands of years? Seriously. Across all sorts of cultures and spiritual traditions, thinkers and mystics have been charting the stages of human development. They've been drawing maps of our inner world, maps of the soul. And this is the specific map we're going to follow for this explainer. It's a fascinating diagram that pulls together teachings from Sufism, that's the mystical side of Islam, and the Baha'i faith, which really emphasizes the spiritual unity of all people. You can see it lays out a whole path from what it calls the commanding soul down at the bottom, all the way up to the divine soul at the top. Let's start where every journey begins. You know, in any great story, from ancient myths to the movies we watch today, the hero always starts out in their normal, ordinary world. Well, on this spiritual map, that starting point is a state of, let's say, unawareness, a phase that's really dominated by our most basic instincts and desires. So this first stage is called the commanding soul, or nafs al-amara. Think of it as the part of us that's driven by impulse, what we might just call the ego. It's not evil like some kind of cartoon villain, but it's the part of our consciousness that's always pulling us toward temporary, worldly things. The source material really nails the description here. It says the soul is preoccupied with the trivialities of this world. In other words, it's just caught up in all the surface-level stuff in life, totally disconnected from any deeper sense of purpose. This is our starting point. But of course, no one stays at the starting line forever. The real journey kicks off when we start to wake up to this state. This is what you could call the road of trials, a time of struggle, a lot of self-reflection, and taking those first few steps up the ladder. Our map shows that this awakening isn't just one big leap. Nope, it's a process, a series of steps. It starts with what's called the blaming soul, where we first become aware of our own issues and feel regret. That feeling then pushes us toward the inspired soul, which starts to actively look for something better. And that finally leads to the assured soul, a state where all that inner chaos starts to calm down. And as the map puts it so beautifully, darkness turns to light. And let me tell you, this path is anything but a smooth, straight line. This really powerful quote captures the intense highs and lows of this whole phase. It's this constant push and pull, you know? That feeling of making progress only to get knocked right back down. That is the struggle of transformation. So after you've battled through that road of trials, the traveler finally arrives at a destination, a place of really deep inner peace and balance. This is the first major milestone on our map, achieving what's called the centered or satisfied self. So what does this centered state actually look like? Well, check out this diagram. It's shown as this perfect harmony of four key virtues. You've got wisdom at the top, supported by courage and temperance on the sides, and justice holding it all together at the base. It's a state of inner equilibrium, where all our best qualities are finally working together. And here's what's so fascinating. This idea of a balanced, virtuous person isn't unique to this one tradition at all. This pattern shows up in different forms all over the world, which really suggests it taps into something fundamental about being human, like a blueprint for psychological wholeness. Okay, now this is super interesting. Check out this direct comparison. On the left, you see that diagram of virtues we were just looking at, and on the right, that's a core part of the Enneagram, a really popular personality model that also has its roots in Sufi teachings. I mean, look at that. The structure is practically identical, showing this shared understanding of what it means to be a centered self. So you might think, okay, I'm centered, I'm balanced, journey's over, right? Well, not according to this map. Achieving that centered self is actually the foundation. It's more like a launch pad for reaching even higher states of consciousness, ones that go way beyond just the personal self. So now, let's explore the very top of our map. Way up above the centered self, we find these higher stations. There's the perfect soul, which reflects divine qualities, the soul of the kingdom, which experiences this profound sense of unity, and then even higher, the soul of divine command, a state that's described as being just beyond what we can normally understand. And at the very, very top, the absolute peak, is the divine soul, or lahut. This is described as the ultimate goal, a state of complete and total unity with the source of everything, the universal reality that everything comes from and that everything eventually returns to. Okay, so we've journeyed from that ego-driven self all the way up to a state of divine unity. Now let's zoom out, because what this map really shows us isn't just one specific path, but a pattern for a universal human quest. And here is the key takeaway from all of this. While the names might change, the symbols are different, the specific steps might vary, the fundamental journey of the soul, from a state of being divided to a state of being whole, is a story told by cultures all over the world. And this just illustrates the point so perfectly. On the left, we've got the Sufi-derived Enneagram. On the right, a diagram of divine principles from Ramon Llull, a Christian mystic from 13th century Spain who actually studied Islamic teachings. The similarity in structure is just undeniable. Different traditions, same geometric language. We also see this pattern of threes, representing body, soul, and spirit, in other places. In Taoist inner alchemy, for example, they talk about 3 main energy centers in the body. And some researchers believe the 3 main chambers inside the Great Pyramid of Giza were built to symbolically mirror this exact same idea of our threefold nature. This idea of a multi-stage journey to enlightenment is it's everywhere. In Norse myths, the world tree Yggdrasil connects 9 different realms, like a cosmic map. In the Hindu yogic path, the journey to liberation is laid out in 7 distinct stages of knowledge. It's so many different maps, but they're all pointing to one fundamental journey. So, we've explored this incredible map that charts a course from a divided self to a unified soul, a journey that's echoed in spiritual traditions all over the globe. But, a map is not the territory itself. The real question isn't about the map, it's about your own inner world. Where are you on your path?